The Brooks mansion stood tall on the hill, pristine and stately against the orange glow of the setting sun. Olivia Brooks, in her perfectly pressed blouse and pearls, stood by the window, her fingers drumming against the mahogany sill. Her eyes narrowed as she watched the car pull up. Thomas and Sarah had assured her that they'd found the best nanny. Someone highly recommended, they said. But Olivia wasn't convinced. She never trusted anyone around her grandchildren, especially not strangers. The doorbell rang, a shrill noise that seemed to echo through the vastness of the house. Olivia's heart tightened with unease. Thomas, carrying one of the twins, strode to the door with Sarah at his side. "Are you ready, Mother?" Thomas asked, his voice light, almost excited. "As ready as I'll ever be," Olivia replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The door swung open, and there she stood, Maya Johnson, tall, graceful, with a confident smile that lit up her face. But all Olivia could see was the color of her skin. Olivia felt the air leave her lungs. This is the nanny?" Thomas exchanged a glance with Sarah, who gave a slight nod of reassurance. "Yes, Mother. Maya comes highly recommended. She's got years of experience with newborns." Maya stepped forward, extending her hand politely. "Mrs. Brooks, it's a pleasure to meet you." Olivia hesitated, her gaze drifting to the children in Maya's arms. "I wasn't expecting this." An awkward silence hung in the air. Olivia could feel the tension as thick as the crisp autumn leaves outside. She didn't want to cause a scene, but the discomfort surged through her like wildfire. Thomas shifted on his feet, clearing his throat. "Mother, Maya will be staying with us for a few months. We hope you'll give her a chance." Olivia barely heard him. Her focus was on Maya's poised figure, her smile, her aura of calm. It was unsettling. "Of course," Olivia muttered, her words laced with forced civility. But inside, she fumed. This wasn't what she had imagined for her family. As Maya followed Sarah and Thomas upstairs, Olivia stood frozen in place, her mind racing. She needed a plan. There was no way she would let Maya become a permanent part of their lives. And so the tension began, silent, simmering, waiting for the first crack to appear. Maya quickly settled into her new role, handling the twins with a grace and patience that left even Sarah in awe. Her calm demeanor soothed the babies when they fussed, and her quiet efficiency made her indispensable around the house. She prepared bottles in the middle of the night, stayed up through their cries, and handled their every need with a smile. But Olivia remained distant, watching Maya from the shadows like a hawk, her gaze heavy with suspicion. The mornings were the worst. Olivia would enter the kitchen at dawn, already polished and proper, only to find Maya quietly preparing breakfast. The scent of fresh coffee and pancakes filled the air, but it felt thick with unspoken tension. "Morning, Mrs. Brooks," Maya would greet her, her smile as warm as the sunlight streaming through the window. Olivia's replies were curt. "I trust you're keeping everything in order." Maya nodded, her hands continuing to whisk the batter. "Of course, ma'am. The twins are still asleep, and I finished their laundry." There was always a note of professionalism in Maya's voice that made Olivia uneasy. It was as if no matter what Olivia threw her way, Maya could deflect it effortlessly. There were no cracks in her armor. Olivia's unease only grew as Sarah and Thomas became more comfortable with Maya. Sarah, especially, had taken a liking to her. She often joined Maya in the nursery, chatting away as they worked side by side, laughing like old friends. "How do you manage it all, Maya?" Sarah asked one evening, watching in admiration as Maya expertly rocked one twin to sleep while feeding the other. Maya smiled gently. "It's all about patience and a bit of love. Children can sense when you care for them." Sarah beamed. "I'm so glad you're here." The words stung Olivia. Every compliment, every kind word directed at Maya felt like an insult to her. Olivia had raised Thomas on her own after his father passed away, and she had done it perfectly. She didn't need some outsider, some stranger, to come in and disrupt the way things were done. But there was something more to Olivia's unease. It wasn't just about control. It was something deeper, something primal. Maya's mere presence challenged the world Olivia had constructed in her mind, the boundaries of race and class that she held so dear. It was as if Maya was a symbol of all the change Olivia feared, a world where things weren't so simple, where people like Maya could cross into spaces Olivia had never allowed them to, and that terrified her. It started small, little things Olivia noticed around the house. A family photo slightly askew on the mantelpiece, items in the kitchen drawer rearranged, the faint scent of lavender perfume in the rooms Maya had never entered. Olivia's first instinct was to dismiss it. After all, with so many people in the house, these things were bound to happen. But as the days went on, the incidents grew stranger. One morning, Olivia awoke to find the door to her private study slightly ajar. She was sure she had locked it the night before. Her heart raced as she pushed the door open and glanced inside. Everything seemed untouched, but Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been in there. Maya, she muttered to herself. It had to be her. Olivia's distrust of Maya had been festering for weeks now, and this only added fuel to the fire. Later that day, when the family gathered for dinner, Olivia casually mentioned the strange occurrences. "Things have been odd around here lately," she said, her voice laced with suspicion. "Doors left open, items moved." Thomas chuckled. "You're just being paranoid, Mother. It's a big house." Olivia shot him a stern look. "I'm not paranoid, Thomas. I know what I see." The conversation died down quickly, but Maya's expression remained calm, unaffected. Olivia watched her closely, waiting for a slip, waiting for a reaction. But there was nothing. Maya's cool composure only made Olivia more convinced that something was amiss. Later that evening, as Olivia retired to her room, she felt a strange heaviness in the air. The feeling was hard to describe, like the walls of the house were watching her, closing in. She had lived in this mansion for decades, but never had she felt so uneasy. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind outside seemed amplified, as if the house itself was trying to tell her something. As she lay in bed, her thoughts racing, Olivia decided she would confront Maya. It was time to get to the bottom of things. The next morning, Olivia woke with a renewed sense of purpose. She would catch Maya off guard, make her slip. If Maya was up to something, Olivia was determined to find out. She found Maya in the nursery, humming softly as she rocked one of the twins to sleep. The other twin was dozing in the crib, a picture of peace and contentment. "Maya," Olivia said, her voice sharp. Maya looked up, her expression neutral. "Yes, Mrs. Brooks?" "I've noticed strange things happening around the house," Olivia began, stepping closer. "Doors left open, items moved. And I know you've been in my study." Maya's brow furrowed in genuine confusion. "I haven't touched anything, Mrs. Brooks. I would never go into your private space without permission." Olivia scoffed. "Don't play innocent with me. I've been watching you." Maya straightened, her calm demeanor unshaken. "With all due respect, Mrs. Brooks, I've done nothing wrong. I'm here to care for the twins and help the family. If you feel uncomfortable, perhaps we should sit down and discuss this with Mr. and Mrs. Brooks." The suggestion of involving Thomas and Sarah sent a spike of fear through Olivia. She couldn't have them thinking she was losing her grip on reality, but Maya's response only made her more certain that something was going on. "I don't need to discuss anything with anyone," Olivia snapped. "Just stay away from my things." Maya nodded quietly, returning to her duties. But Olivia could see it in her eyes. A flicker of something, a challenge perhaps, and it only deepened Olivia's paranoia. Over the next few days, Olivia's obsession with Maya reached new heights. Every time she entered a room, she could feel Maya's presence lingering. Olivia began to lose sleep, her thoughts consumed with the idea that Maya was hiding something, plotting something. The lack of rest took its toll. Olivia's sharp mind dulled, her body weakened, and her once composed exterior began to crack. She started snapping at Sarah and Thomas over the smallest things, driving a wedge between herself and her family. "I just don't understand why you don't trust her, Mother," Thomas said one evening after dinner, his voice strained with frustration. "Maya has been nothing but wonderful with the twins." Olivia didn't reply. She couldn't. How could she explain the strange feeling in her gut, the sense that something was terribly wrong? How could she make them see what she saw? Her mind spiraled deeper into paranoia. She began setting traps around the house, placing objects in strategic positions, marking the doors with chalk, anything to catch Maya in the act. But each morning, everything remained undisturbed, fueling Olivia's growing fear that she was losing control. She couldn't shake the sensation that something bigger was at play, something she couldn't explain, something that made her question everything she thought she knew. And the family? They were none the wiser, blissfully unaware of the darkness creeping into Olivia's mind. The crackling fire in the living room barely warmed the icy silence between Olivia and the rest of the family. As Maya quietly cleared the dinner table, Olivia's eyes darted back and forth between her grandchildren, now peacefully cooing in their bassinet. Something wasn't right. She could feel it in her bones. Later that night, as the house fell into its usual lull, Olivia found herself unable to sleep. The strange noises, the creaking of the floorboards, and the whisper of wind against the windows kept her awake. She got up and decided to check on the twins, her concern overriding her exhaustion. As she made her way down the hallway, Olivia's heart stopped. A faint cry echoed from the nursery, soft at first, but it quickly escalated into desperate wails. Olivia rushed in, her hands trembling as she flicked on the light. Both babies were crying, screaming, really, red-faced and gasping for air. "What's wrong?" Olivia whispered, fear tightening her throat. She reached down to pick up one of the twins, but the moment she did, she felt it, an unnatural heat radiating from the child's skin. Fever. A high one. Her panic deepened. "Thomas! Sarah!" she yelled, her voice echoing through the halls. Within moments, the house was in chaos. Thomas rushed in, followed by Sarah, who immediately tried to comfort the twins, but nothing worked. Their cries grew louder, more frantic. "Call the doctor!" Olivia barked. "Something's terribly wrong." Maya appeared at the doorway, calm yet concerned. Her eyes flicked from the babies to Olivia, then to Thomas and Sarah. Without a word, she swiftly moved to the babies, her hands cool and gentle as she touched their foreheads. "They have a fever," Maya said quietly, her voice steady in the midst of the chaos. "But we need to bring it down quickly." Sarah nodded, her face pale with worry. "Do what you need to, Maya, please." Without hesitation, Maya took control of the situation, instructing Thomas to grab a cold towel and some medicine. She worked quickly, soothing the babies with a calm that almost seemed unnatural to Olivia. In just a few minutes, the twins' cries began to subside, their fever slowly easing. Olivia stood frozen in the corner, watching as Maya expertly handled the situation. The relief in Sarah and Thomas's eyes was undeniable, and it gnawed at Olivia's insides. How could they trust her so easily? How could they let Maya have so much control? But as she watched Maya cradle the babies in her arms, whispering softly to them, a small voice inside Olivia began to waver. Maybe, just maybe, she had been wrong. Days after the incident with the twins, Olivia's suspicion of Maya remained, but now it was mixed with something else. Guilt. She couldn't shake the image of Maya saving her grandchildren, nor could she deny the nagging feeling that maybe her distrust had been misplaced. Still, Olivia wasn't ready to let go of her control just yet. One evening, while the house was quiet and everyone was asleep, Olivia roamed the hallways, her mind restless. That's when she noticed something strange. One of the old doors at the end of the west wing, a part of the house rarely used, was slightly ajar. Olivia's curiosity piqued. She hadn't been in that wing in years. The house was full of forgotten rooms, spaces that had fallen out of use as the family grew smaller and older. But this door hadn't been opened in decades. She pushed it open gently and stepped inside, her eyes adjusting to the darkness. The room was small, dusty, and filled with old furniture covered in white sheets. It looked untouched, like a snapshot of another time. But there was something off. A strange, unsettling energy seemed to pulse through the air. As Olivia walked further into the room, her foot kicked something hard on the floor. She bent down and picked up an old leather-bound book, its pages yellowed and fragile with age. Flipping it open, she realized it was a journal, a family journal. Her heart raced as she skimmed the pages. The entries detailed a time long before Olivia's own, stories of ancestors, family secrets, and, most shockingly, references to a hidden connection with a servant of color who had once lived on the property. Olivia's eyes widened as she pieced together the details. Could it be? Could this servant have been more than just hired help? The further she read, the more the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together. The family had kept secrets, secrets that had been buried for generations. And Maya might be connected to those secrets. The revelation sent a chill down Olivia's spine. The following morning, Olivia felt a renewed sense of purpose. She couldn't shake what she had found. She needed answers, and she needed them now. Over breakfast, Olivia's demeanor was different. Calm, but calculating. She watched Maya with sharp eyes, wondering if Maya knew the same family secrets Olivia had uncovered. "Maya," Olivia said suddenly, breaking the silence, "have you ever heard stories about this house? About the people who lived here before?" Maya looked up, her expression thoughtful. "I've heard bits and pieces, but I'm not sure what you mean, Mrs. Brooks." Olivia leaned forward, her voice lowering. "I found something last night, something about our family's past, and I think you might know more than you're letting on." Maya's gaze held steady, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes. She placed her fork down gently and met Olivia's stare. "I think, Mrs. Brooks, we all have pasts we'd rather leave buried. But sometimes, the truth has a way of revealing itself." Olivia's heart skipped a beat. Maya knew. She was sure of it now. Tensions reached a boiling point later that evening during a family dinner. Olivia, feeling cornered by her own discovery, could no longer contain her emotions. "This Nanny," Olivia began, her voice shaking with anger. "There's something you all need to know. She's not who she says she is." Thomas looked up, startled. "Mother? What are you talking about?" Olivia slammed the old journal on the table, the pages fluttering open to the entries she had found. "Our family. We have a history that involves people like her." The room fell silent. Maya stood still, her face unreadable. "Mother, this is enough," Thomas shouted, rising from his seat. "This is madness." But Olivia wasn't done. She pointed a trembling finger at Maya. "You knew, didn't you? You knew all along. You came here for a reason." Maya finally spoke, her voice steady but full of intensity. "I came here to do my job, Mrs. Brooks, and yes, I knew about your family's past, but that past is not mine to hold. It's yours." Olivia's face turned pale, her mind spinning with confusion and fear. She had uncovered the truth, but the truth had only left her more broken, more lost than before. As Olivia spiraled deeper into her own madness, the tension in the house reached its peak. And then, one stormy night, disaster struck. A loud crash echoed through the house. A tree had fallen, hitting part of the nursery wing. The entire family rushed to the scene, panic and fear gripping them as they found the twins' room partially caved in. But miraculously, the twins were safe, and standing in the midst of the chaos was Maya, shielding the babies with her own body. Thomas and Sarah rushed to Maya's side, helping her out of the wreckage. Tears streamed down their faces, and even Olivia stood frozen in shock, unable to process what had just happened. Maya had risked her life for the twins. In that moment, the last of Olivia's resistance broke. She saw Maya not as an outsider, not as a threat, but as a human being, a protector. The weight of her own prejudice, her hatred, fell away, leaving her hollow and full of regret. In the days that followed the storm, the Brooks family was forever changed. The aftermath of the fallen tree had left a gaping hole not just in the house, but in Olivia's heart. Maya had risked everything to save the twins, and even Olivia couldn't deny the truth any longer. She had been wrong, but the story wasn't over yet. One evening, as Olivia sat alone in the den, she found herself once again drawn to the old journal. There were more entries she hadn't yet read, and something inside her told her to finish what she had started. Flipping through the brittle pages, Olivia came across a final entry that would change everything. The entry spoke of a servant, an African woman named Josephine, who had worked for Olivia's great-grandparents. But she hadn't just been a servant. Josephine had been a confidant, a protector, and, more importantly, the mother of a child fathered by one of the Brooks men. The entry revealed a deep family secret. The Brooks family had descendants of African heritage, a truth that had been hidden for generations. Olivia's hands trembled as she realized the weight of what she was reading. Maya. Could it be possible that Maya was connected to Josephine's lineage? The revelation hit Olivia like a tidal wave. All these years, she had clung to a false sense of superiority, to a family legacy that wasn't as pure as she had believed. And now, standing in the same house where her ancestors had hidden their shame, Olivia felt the walls of her world crumble. That night, Olivia found Maya in the nursery, as usual, softly humming to the twins. "Maya," Olivia began, her voice shaky, "I found something in the journal, about our family, about Josephine." Maya didn't look surprised. She nodded slowly. "I know, Mrs. Brooks. My grandmother told me the story before I ever came here. I didn't come to this house by accident." Olivia's breath caught in her throat. "Then why did you come?" Maya smiled softly, her eyes filled with a quiet understanding. "I came because I believe in redemption. I came because your family needed me, just like mine once needed yours." The weight of Maya's words settled over Olivia, and for the first time in her life she felt small, like all the power, all the wealth, all the pride she had held on to for so long meant nothing in the face of this truth. "I'm sorry," Olivia whispered, her voice cracking. "I'm so sorry." Maya reached out, placing a gentle hand on Olivia's shoulder. "It's never too late to make things right, Mrs. Brooks. We all have the power to change." And in that moment, Olivia knew that the real lesson wasn't just about the past. It was about the future. It was about letting go of hate, embracing love, and rebuilding a family on the foundations of truth and respect. Over the following weeks, the Brooks family slowly mended. Olivia began to build a genuine relationship with Maya, learning about her family history, and in doing so, discovering more about herself. The hostility that once defined their interactions gave way to a deep respect, and Olivia, for the first time, opened her heart. Maya became more than just the nanny. She became a part of the family. And Olivia, through the painful journey of confronting her own prejudices, learned that love and humanity could break even the deepest of divides. The house felt lighter, the once simmering tension replaced by peace. The twins grew up with Maya as their second mother, and even Thomas and Sarah could see that their family was stronger than ever. But the greatest transformation was in Olivia. She had once believed herself to be the center of the family, the keeper of its traditions. Now, she saw that the true strength of the Brooks family lay not in its past, but in its future, a future that was richer and fuller because of the love and unity Maya had brought into their lives. In the end, the Brooks family learned a powerful lesson, that love and kindness are stronger than hate, and that sometimes it takes a shock to the system to break free from the chains of prejudice. Maya, through her quiet strength and resilience, changed their world forever. As for Olivia, she finally understood that the legacy she left behind wouldn't be defined by the walls of the mansion, but by the love she gave and the lessons she learned in the twilight of her life. And Maya, with her grace and wisdom, was the key to unlocking that change. If you enjoyed this heartwarming story of transformation and redemption, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We bring you engaging, suspense-filled stories that explore the human experience, challenge societal norms, and leave you thinking long after the video ends. Don't forget to hit the notification bell.